Let's talk about a future where our world is just a story someone tells their kids, a history lesson written in blood and fire. Well, that's the world of Pacifica. And today, we're going to dive into how humanity got there, how it completely tore itself apart, and what exactly clawed its way out of the ashes.
You know, this single line, it's not just describing a battlefield. It's basically the mission statement for this entire universe. It tells you right away that this isn't some story about hope and shiny futures. Nope, this is about raw survival and a kind of loss that just hangs in the air. It sets this incredibly grim, determined tone for everything to come.
So, that's the big question, right? How did we get here? How did a future that seems so full of potential turn into this, an endless war zone? The thing is, it wasn't just one bad day. It was a chain reaction, a whole series of catastrophes that just shattered the old world and made way for something much, much more brutal.
Okay, before we can even begin to understand the new empires running this fractured planet, we have to dig through the rubble of the ones that came before. See, the 21st century, it wasn't just a tough time. It was a complete and total system failure. Like a century-long funeral for the world we know.
What's absolutely terrifying when you look at this timeline is just how fast it all fell apart. I mean, in less than 100 years, the world goes from something we'd recognize to a full-on post-apocalyptic nightmare. World War III isn't just another conflict, it's a hard reset on civilization. And the American race war that comes after, that's not just a civil war. It's the final bloody page in the book of the old world.
But you know how it goes. As the old world was burning down, new powers were already rising up from the ashes. It's like they say, nature and politics, they hate a vacuum. So these new empires, forged in the fires of war, they're the ones who are going to shape the next 100 years of human history. And their clashing ideas, well, that's going to spark a war that makes everything that came before look tiny.
At the very heart of this new world order is a serious clash of titans. On one side, you've got the North Alliance. Think of them as a military juggernaut, built from the pieces of the old superpowers, and they've got this dream of a unified planet, under their total control, of course. And fighting them, the Athenian Empire, a whole alliance of rebels and rogue nations fighting tooth and nail for a future where people can actually choose their own path. This isn't just about borders and politics, it's a battle for the soul of humanity.
But hold on, this isn't just a two-player game. Not even close. The world of Pacifica is more like a really complex, really dangerous chessboard, with a whole bunch of other powers trying to make their move. You've got the area nation-state of Imperial Americana, the always expanding Asian Alliance, and the United Europe States, constantly caught in the middle. The whole board is a minefield of shifting alliances and old hatreds. And then, rising from the radioactive heart of the Middle East, you've got the Judean Empire, this multicultural beacon in a world that's just obsessed with division.
So, the wars of the 22nd century, they aren't just fought on battlefields with tanks and guns. They're also being fought inside our very DNA. In this future, the question isn't so much who are you, as it is what are you? And the answer to that question is written in genetic code and cybernetic parts. This right here, this is probably the single biggest leap in human history. It's so profound, it makes the Industrial Revolution look like a minor software update. In the 22nd century, humanity has basically conquered disease. We've cheated death. People are living to be 160, 180 years old. But this gift, it comes with a heavy price. It's created a new, brutal social ladder based entirely on how pure your genetic code is.
This table gives you a really chilling look at the new caste system of the 22nd century. At the very bottom, you've got the retrohumans, the last few unenhanced people from a time gone by. And at the very top, the uberhumans, beings with so much power they're basically gods. And then there's everyone in between, from the genetically enhanced norms to the cyborgs who could live for 1,000 years. Everybody's got their place, all decided by a genetic lottery.
So, what happens when you take a world of warring empires, a species that's been fractured by its own technology, and a history written in blood, and you just shake it all up? Well, you get the Great Pacifica War, the conflict that will define humanity's future. A war so huge and so brutal it makes everything that came before it look like a schoolyard fight.
This quote really gets to the heart of what makes the Pacifica War so utterly terrifying. This isn't a war for oil or land. It's a holy crusade. It's a battle of ideas where both sides are 100% convinced that they are fighting to save humankind. And in a war like that, there's no room for compromise. There's no surrender. There's only total, complete annihilation. To even start to wrap your head around the mind-boggling scale we're talking about, you have to look at what came before. During World War III, a single invasion force of 6 million troops swept into Israel. 6 million. That's a number that's almost impossible to really picture. And by the 22nd century, that's just the cost of doing business. The wars of this future are fought on a scale where the body counts could be confused with census data.
The PACIFICA War was a global firestorm. It raged across every single continent and ocean. I'm talking from the sun-baked plains of the American Southwest to the suffocating tight tunnels of Cheyenne Mountain, all the way to the war-torn streets of Sydney. This war left no corner of the world untouched, and it all culminated in the apocalyptic battle for Olympia, a final, desperate fight that would decide the fate of the Athenian Empire and, really, the future of the human race.
And then, the guns fall silent. The smoke clears. The Great Pacifica War is finally over. But in a world that was forged in conflict, peace is a fragile thing. It's fleeting. The end of one war is really just the opening act for the next one, and the future that rises from these ashes is anything but safe.
The outcome of the Pacifica War is swift, and it is brutal. The Athenian Empire isn't just defeated, it's obliterated, wiped from the history books. A new global coalition, led by the victorious North Alliance, rises up to unite the planet. But this is a unity that came from conquest, not agreement. It's a fragile peace built on a foundation of radioactive ash and the bitter taste of defeat.
For centuries, humanity's greatest enemy was itself. The Pacifica War was the ultimate proof of that self-destructive nature, a conflict that pushed technology to its absolute limits and turned the human race into a species of hardened survivors. But in all that time they spent looking inward, fighting each other, they failed to notice the new threats gathering out on the horizon. Separatist movements are gaining steam in the off-world colonies. And, far out in the cold, dark silence of space, a new and terrifying enemy is on its way.
So, for over a century, humanity has been locked in this brutal civil war. They've fought, they've bled, and they've clawed their way to some kind of broken unity. They stared Armageddon in the face, and they survived. But are they ready for what's coming next? Are they ready for a war against an enemy that isn't human at all? That's the question that's going to echo through the silence of space in the 23rd century. A question that will decide if humanity's future is one of triumph or extinction.